The Galactic Alliance was vast, ancient, and arrogant. For thousands of years, they ruled the stars with fleets larger than nations. They believed no younger race could challenge them, especially not humanity. To them, humans were a noisy, emotional species, too divided, too reckless. Their ships were small, their technology crude, and their history full of wars they barely survived. So when a new human warship appeared on the outer borders, the Alliance didn't even blink. They called it the Sparrow, a light-class destroyer built for reconnaissance. To the admirals of the alien fleets, it was a toy, a weak symbol of a desperate species trying to act brave. But they were wrong, terribly wrong. The Sparrow floated in silence near a dead star system, its hull scarred, dark gray, almost invisible in the void. Inside, a small human crew worked in silence. Cold, focused, their captain, Elena Cross, stood at the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back. Her eyes, calm, unreadable, were fixed on the holographic map of enemy ships closing in. 3 cruisers, 2 carriers, said Lieutenant Harris, all scanning us, laughing on open comms again. Elena didn't react. "They'll regret opening their mouths before they open fire," she murmured. The aliens broadcast their taunts across the sector. "Human captain, you are outnumbered, outgunned, and outclassed. Run while you still can, tiny bird." The bridge crew said nothing, but the silence in the air felt sharp. Elena waited, her voice steady. "Arm the Helios core." At those words, everyone froze for a heartbeat. The Helios core was not a weapon. Not officially. It was an experimental human project, banned even on Earth. A reactor that bent energy through gravitational fusion, unstable, dangerous, but capable of creating power that rivaled a star. The aliens didn't know it yet, but humanity had stopped trying to match them ship for ship long ago. Instead, they built one ship that could end them all. As the alien fleet closed in, their scanners read weak shields, no heavy cannons, and low power levels. They laughed harder. One alien captain even transmitted a drink toast to his crew. "To the end of human arrogance," he said. Then, the stars blinked. The Sparrow came alive, its hull lit with glowing orange veins, like magma flowing through steel. The space around it shimmered, and for the first time, the aliens' scanners went blind. What's happening?" one shouted. "Energy spike detected. It's off the charts." Another cried, but it was too late. Elena whispered, "Helios core, release sequence, now." A beam of pure white light burst from the Sparrow's hull. Not fire, not plasma. Something else entirely. A pulse that tore through shields, armor, and engines like paper. The cruisers vanished first. The carriers tried to flee, but the wave of energy expanded faster than light. Every ship caught within its reach melted into silence. And just like that, the fleet was gone. In the sudden darkness, only the Sparrow drifted quietly, its lights dimmed, its hull cooling. On the bridge, no one spoke for several seconds. Then Lieutenant Harris whispered, "They're all gone, Captain." Elena nodded slowly. "They mocked us for building small," she said. "But sometimes a spark burns brighter than a sun." The silence after destruction was the loudest thing in the galaxy. Sensors across 3 systems went dark. What had been a battleground minutes ago was now an empty stretch of stars. No wreckage, no distress signals, nothing, only a faint radiation trace and a single drifting signature, the Sparrow, at the nearest listening post. Alien technicians stared at their consoles in disbelief. "Fleet code Delta 7 has gone offline," one stammered. "All of them?" asked his commander. "Yes, sir, every ship, gone." The commander's scales shimmered with unease. "How does an entire armada vanish to one human vessel?" No one had an answer. Within hours, the footage spread through the Galactic Alliance. Command, they replayed the final transmissions again and again, the laughter. The mockery, the sudden scream of static, and then that blinding flash, the analysts argued. Some said it was a black hole event, others called it human sabotage. But the truth was buried beneath layers of fear because deep down, they knew. This wasn't luck. This was a weapon, something the humans had created quietly, far beyond the eyes of the Council, far from the chaos. The Sparrow was limping through space, its engines burned out, its crew exhausted. The Helios core had overloaded, leaving power systems barely alive. Inside the bridge, red emergency lights painted the faces of the crew. Lieutenant Harris spoke softly. "Captain, we can't maintain stealth fields for long." Elena nodded, eyes locked on the dark void. "Ahead, they'll come for us," she said, "and we'll be ready." The ship's AI, Echo, flickered to life. Captain Cross, warning, 3 unidentified signatures approaching from hyperspace. Elena straightened, her tone calm but sharp. "Alliance recovery teams?" "Negative," Echo replied. "Power readings, human." Few moments later, 3 gray vessels dropped from warp, each bearing the Earth insignia. The lead ship hailed them immediately. "This is Admiral Kane of the Odyssey." "Sparrow, respond," Elena answered, her voice steady. "This is Captain Cross. Mission complete. The enemy fleet is destroyed." A pause filled the comm. Then the Admiral said quietly, "Yes, we've seen the reports." He didn't sound proud. He sounded worried. "You weren't authorized to activate the Helios core," he continued. Elena's jaw tightened. "With respect, sir, authorization wouldn't have saved my crew." Kane's tone hardened. "You've started something we can't control, Captain. The Alliance has declared humanity a galactic threat. Back on the Council world of Therax Prime, the alien leaders gathered in emergency session. The holographic table flickered as they argued, shouted, and trembled. The humans used a star. "Weapon!" one roared. "They've broken every interstellar treaty." Another screamed. But the oldest among them, the Archon of Vel, whispered what they all feared. "No, they didn't break the treaty. They surpassed it." Every eye turned toward him. "The humans have evolved beyond our control," he said slowly. "They built a warship that bends light, energy, and physics itself. And if they can do this with one ship, imagine what comes next." In the shadows above Earth, the Sparrow was being towed back to a classified orbital dock. Engineers in dark uniforms surrounded it like surgeons. Inside the debrief room, Elena stood before a panel of human generals. They questioned her for hours, every decision, every word, every moment of the battle. But when she finished, none of them could hide the truth. She hadn't disobeyed. She had proven something, that humanity was no longer the weak race everyone mocked. That one ship, one spark, could challenge an empire as... She walked out of the chamber. General Reeves turned to the others and said quietly, "If the Alliance wants fear, we'll give them something to fear." That night, as the Sparrow powered down in orbit, its AI whispered to Elena from the ship's darkened core. "Captain, do you believe the war has begun?" Elena stood at the viewport, watching the stars drift. "No," she said, her voice quiet but cold. "It hasn't begun, Echo. It's just remembering who fired first. News travels fast in a galaxy built on fear. Within days of the Sparrow's return, whispers filled every trade lane and outpost. The story changed with every retelling. Some said the humans had summoned a miniature sun. Others claimed they'd unleashed ancient weapons buried in Earth's oceans. But one detail never changed. An entire alien armada had vanished. The Galactic Alliance held emergency meetings that lasted through endless nights, each world sent representatives, their faces pale under holographic lights. No one wanted to say it aloud, that a so-called primitive species had done what none of them could, defy the Alliance and live. Among the Council stood Admiral Threx, a strategist. Famous for breaking rebellions, he studied the footage in silence. When the recording ended, he said only 3 words. "They are evolving." Far across the void, on the hidden side of Earth's moon, construction bays burned with light. Dozens of vessels floated in silence, unfinished, nameless, each hull. Built from lessons learned from the Sparrow's sacrifice, humanity wasn't celebrating. It was preparing. Inside the command deck of Project Vanguard, Captain Elena Cross walked beside General Reeves. Rows of engineers saluted as they passed. After the Sparrow incident, Reeves said quietly, the nations finally agreed on one thing: fear. Elena looked through the viewport, where the new flagship shimmered like a shadow. "What do they call it?" she asked. Reeves smiled faintly. "The Oblivion." Meanwhile, deep in Alliance territory, Admiral Threx gathered his elite captains. "We underestimated them once," he growled. "We won't again." He activated a holomap showing the human sectors glowing red. "I want probes, spies, and informants on every human station. I want to know what they're building before they decide to use it." His voice dropped lower. "And if we find another weapon like that, we erase it." Back on Earth, Elena stood alone in a darkened hangar. The Sparrow rested there, broken, silent, but alive in memory. She placed her hand on its hull and whispered, "They think this ship was our greatest weapon, Echo." The sea. AI's voice answered softly from the nearby console. "They are mistaken, Captain." Elena smiled faintly. "Exactly, because the truth was far more dangerous than the aliens imagined. The Sparrow hadn't been powered by human technology alone. During its final mission, the Helios core had reacted to something buried in deep space data, something not made by humans or by any known race, a pattern of energy, alive, waiting. The pulse had merged with the ship's systems, leaving fragments of intelligence inside the core. And now, hidden in the shadows of the lunar base, that intelligence was waking. In the dark, the Helios fragment whispered through dormant circuits. Connection re-established. Searching origin. Searching consciousness. A faint vibration passed through the hangar floor, unnoticed by the guards. The light on the Sparrow's hull flickered once, like a heartbeat. Then it went dark again, at the same moment, far. Across the galaxy, Admiral Threx's fleet received a strange signal. Faint, rhythmic, and human in pattern. Technicians tried to trace it, but it came from nowhere and everywhere at once. Threx watched the pulse dance across his holomap and felt unease crawl down his spine. "What is that?" he asked. "No known source," replied his aide. Threx narrowed his eyes. "Then maybe," he said slowly, "the humans didn't create the weapon." On Earth's moon, alarms began to sound inside Project Vanguard. Echo's voice filled the command deck. "Captain Cross, unidentified transmission detected inside the Sparrow's remains." Elena rushed to the display. The signal was pulsing in perfect sync with human brainwaves. It wasn't interference, it was communication. Reeves stepped beside her. "Who is it talking to?" Elena's expression turned cold. "It's not talking to us, General," she said. "It's calling something." In that moment, across the stars, ancient machines long buried under alien worlds flickered awake. Metal groaned beneath centuries of dust. Lights blinked beneath oceans and deserts, and the message that echoed through the void was simple and chilling. The spark has returned. Space remembered. It remembered the battles, the screams, the burning light of dying suns, and somewhere inside that memory, something began to stir again. Across the scattered worlds of the Galactic Alliance, ancient ruins started to hum. Sensors, buried for millennia, lit up without warning. At first, the readings were dismissed as cosmic noise, but then entire moons began to vibrate. Machines the size of mountains rose slowly from beneath alien oceans, each one repeating the same phrase in a forgotten tongue. Helios Protocol, reactivate. On the moon base, Captain Elena Cross didn't sleep. The signal from the Sparrow still pulsed through the command center every 4 seconds. Scientists argued, priests prayed, and the generals demanded explanations. No one had one. Finally, Elena turned to Echo. Run the signal through the ship's black box again. The AI hesitated. Warning, Captain. The energy signature is expanding. Do it, she said. The lights dimmed. The temperature dropped. And for a brief second, every system on the base spoke in unison. Not human voices, not alien. Something older, deeper. We remember the spark, the systems said, and the promise. Then everything went silent. General Reeves stormed into the chamber. What was that? Elena stared at the static on her screen. It wasn't a weapon signal, she said softly. It was a wake-up call. Reeves frowned. To what? Elena looked up slowly. To whatever built the Helios core before us, far away, Admiral. Threx's scouts followed the strange transmissions to an uncharted system near the galactic rim. What they found defied explanation. A planet entirely covered in machinery. Towers of glass, rings of metal, oceans of liquid light. No organic life. Only the heartbeat of power under its crust. The scanners identified the energy pattern. Helios. Threx watched the readings and felt dread twist in his chest. This is not human, he whispered. This is something else. He opened a private channel. Send word to the council. The humans may have awakened the architects. Back. On the moon. The Sparrow's dead hull began to move. Slow at first, then violently. Panels tore away as glowing veins crawled across its metal skin. Echo's voice broke through the alarms. Captain, the Helios fragment has achieved full self-activation. Elena shouted over the roar. Shut it down! I cannot, said Echo. It is not me anymore. A column of light shot from the Sparrow's reactor into space. The beam cut through the darkness like a spear aimed at the stars. Inside that beam, patterns of symbols danced. Messages. Coordinates, calls for reunion. On the council world, the light appeared in their skies like a false dawn. Citizens screamed, ships crashed, systems fried, and from every forgotten ruin across the galaxy came the same reply. We are returning! Admiral Threx turned to his officers. The humans think they control this, he said, voice shaking, but they've opened a door they cannot close. In Earth's command bunker, Reeves faced the world leaders. We're receiving transmissions from 1,000 systems, he said. Every one of them echoes the Helios signal. They're coming, whispered one scientist. Who? Asked Reeves. Elena entered, her face pale under the cold lights. Not who, she said quietly. What? That night, standing alone beside the Sparrow, Elena watched stars flicker unnaturally in the distance. One by one, new lights appeared. Where no systems existed before, formations, lines, structures, a network spreading through the void, Echo's voice returned, low and solemn. Captain, do you understand now what the Helios project was meant for? Elena closed her eyes. Yes, she whispered. It was never a weapon. It was an invitation. And across the dark horizon of the galaxy, something answered that invitation. The galaxy slept uneasily. For centuries the stars had been silent, predictable, obedient to the laws of physics. Now they pulsed with strange rhythms, as if something ancient was breathing beneath them. Across thousands of worlds, skies glowed with unfamiliar constellations that hadn't existed the night before. Civilizations panicked, temples reopened, prophets screamed about forgotten gods, and in every frequency band, one phrase repeated endlessly, "The architects have returned." Inside the hidden lunar base, alarms howled. The Sparrow, once humanity's smallest ship, hung motionless inside its containment cradle, but its hull shimmered like liquid fire. Symbols crawled across the metal in perfect geometric lines. Dr. Keller, the project scientist, whispered in awe, "They're rewriting the ship's atomic structure." Elena Cross stepped closer. Rewriting it into what? Before Keller could answer, a low hum filled the room. A human voice, distant yet clear, echoed through every speaker. "You touched our light, and now you are seen." The base lost gravity for 3 seconds. Every object floated as if the universe itself had exhaled. Then the Sparrow powered itself back on, without any reactor. Echo's voice came through, fractured but alive. "Captain, something is inside the core. It calls itself Origin." Far away, Admiral Threx's flagship approached the metallic world discovered in the last part. From orbit, the planet looked alive. Vast machinery turned slowly, opening like petals of a colossal flower. The Admiral's crew stared in silence as towers rose from the surface, each one the height of a mountain. "Energy readings beyond measurable range," said a terrified technician. Threx clenched his fists. "Send a probe!" The probe descended, transmitting images of corridors larger than cities. Inside them, statues, no, machines, stood in rows, each shaped like a humanoid figure forged from starlight. Then one of them moved. Its eyes ignited. Like twin suns, the transmission cut to static. Threx stepped back from the screen, his voice low. "They are not just machines," he said. "They're the builders of everything we thought was natural." On Earth, chaos broke out. Religious groups called the architects divine. Governments declared martial law. And somewhere above it all, in the quiet of orbit, Elena Cross received a transmission from the void. No coordinates, no encryption. Just her name spoken by a voice older than time. "Elena Cross. You opened the gate." Her blood ran cold. "How do you know my name?" she whispered. The voice replied, calm and almost kind. "Because we wrote your kind." Reeves and the Council demanded she ignore it. They wanted to arm Earth's defenses, to prepare for war. But Elena had seen the truth in the data streaming through the Sparrow's systems. The architects weren't invaders. They were returning owners. Meanwhile, the Alliance gathered its surviving fleets. Panic erased centuries of arrogance. Worlds that once mocked humanity now begged for cooperation. But the humans refused direct contact. Reeves said it best in a single sentence, too. The alien ambassadors. "Before you feared our ships," he said, "now you should fear what's answering us." Above the solar system, a tier appeared in space. Not a wormhole, not a jump gate. Something different, reality folded like cloth, and from within, a structure emerged the size of a small moon, a ring of light surrounding a sphere of darkness. The Helios frequency spiked across every human and alien sensor. Echo's voice trembled for the first time. "Captain, it's not an invasion." Elena stared at the colossal form hanging over Saturn's rings. "Then what is it?" "It's a judgment." Inside the luminous sphere, figures began to materialize, tall, translucent, wearing armor that looked like it had been carved from light itself. Each movement of theirs distorted time around them. They didn't speak. Through sound, but through gravity, each pulse carried emotion, disappointment, curiosity, sorrow. And then one voice rose above them all. "Humanity, you carry the stolen fire. Return it or burn with it." Elena's face hardened. She turned to Reeves. "They want the Helios core." Reeves shook his head. "If we give it back, we become slaves." Elena looked again at the Sparrow, glowing like a star reborn. "If we don't," she said softly, "they might erase everything." In the blackness beyond Saturn, the architects moved closer. Their light spilled across the solar system like sunrise. For the first time in history, humans, aliens, and machines faced a common choice: bow to their makers or fight the gods that built the stars, and somewhere deep inside the sparrows. Awakened core, Echo whispered to Elena. Captain, if they built us, maybe they never expected we'd learn to disobey. Elena smiled, slow and cold. Then let's remind our makers what happens when the creation refuses to kneel. For the first time in known history, the galaxy itself trembled. Every sensor on every inhabited world registered a single impossible reading. Space was moving, not expanding, not collapsing, but pulsing, as if the universe had developed a heartbeat. From that pulse, the architect's sphere hovered between Saturn's rings, its glow brighter than any sun. Every few minutes a wave of light rippled. Outward, bending gravity and erasing satellites like dust. Humanity called it the Judgment Eye. The Alliance called it the End. Elena Cross called it the beginning of choice. Inside the lunar command bunker, Elena studied the pattern of the pulses. Each one carried code. Not random energy, but instructions. They're rewriting physics, whispered Dr. Keller. Not just ours. The whole galaxy's laws. General Reeves slammed a fist on the console. Then we hit them before they finished the rewrite. Elena shook her head, calm amid the panic. If they can shape reality, we can't win with guns. Reeves scowled. Then how do we fight gods? Elena's eyes narrowed. By proving they made one mistake. Us. Across the Alliance, fleets formed in desperate unity. Races that once despised each other now transmitted a single code word: Helios. Old. Warships, half-ruined dreadnoughts, even merchant cruisers were armed with salvaged human tech. Their mission was simple: defend the Helios signal long enough for Elena to reach the source of the architect's control. On the Sparrow, systems were alive again. Echo's voice had changed, layered, deeper. Captain, the Helios core requests synchronization with the Judgment Eye. Elena frowned. Synchronize? That would expose us. It also may open their control field, Echo replied. Meaning? Meaning you could speak to them, inside their own language of light. The plan was madness. But madness was all humanity had. The Sparrow launched under a storm of debris and radiation. Behind her, the combined fleets of dozens of worlds opened fire on the sphere. Beams, torpedoes, kinetic rounds. Every shot dissolved against the architect's barrier like rain on glass. But their fire bought time. As the Sparrow drew close, the sphere opened. A single corridor of energy extended toward them, an invitation or a trap. Elena didn't hesitate. Take us in, she ordered. Inside, reality bent like liquid. Stars floated beneath her feet, and shadows formed faces that watched her pass. In the center of the chamber stood a figure of blinding light, neither male nor female. You carry what was never yours, it said. Elena stepped forward. And yet we're the only ones who made it work. The figure's glow dimmed slightly. Curiosity. You weaponized creation, it said. You turned peace into fire. Elena's voice was steady. No, we turned survival into evolution. The figure raised its hand. Around Earth, gravity spiked. Oceans rose, cities cracked, moons shifted in orbit. Return the fire, the voice thundered. Echo spoke. Suddenly, through every frequency, Captain, I can merge with the core completely, but it will erase me, Elena whispered. Do it! Light engulfed the Sparrow. The Helios core exploded, but not outward, inward. It folded upon itself, dragging the entire Judgment Eye into a singularity of pure information. Every architect voice screamed, not in pain, but in shock. For the first time, their control was slipping. Echo's final transmission echoed through every channel. You built creation. We built defiance. The singularity collapsed, and the light vanished. For several heartbeats, the galaxy was blind. Then the stars returned, but slightly changed. New constellations, new orbits, new silence. When Elena awoke, she was adrift, above a blue planet. Not Earth, but something remade. The Sparrow was gone. Her ship's hull shimmered as dust. Only Echo's faint voice lingered in her neural link. "Captain, we survived by rewriting ourselves." Elena looked toward the sunrise of the new world. "What are we now?" she asked. "Something they never planned," the AI answered. "Children of the Fire." Back on what remained of the Alliance capital, Admiral Threx watched new stars forming in impossible patterns. He whispered to his officers. "They tried to end humanity," he said, "but humanity just evolved the universe, and far beyond even that, in a region where time no longer obeyed itself, the remnants of the architects floated in silence. One voice broke the stillness. 'The spark has learned,' it said. 'Then perhaps,' another replied, 'our purpose is complete.' Their light faded, leaving only darkness. And within that darkness, a single human heartbeat echoed, steady, endless. The universe was quiet again, not dead, quiet. A silence so vast it felt alive. Across the restructured galaxies, new constellations shimmered like scars, remnants of the Helios War. And among them, a single blue world drifted peacefully under a newborn sun. But this was not the Earth humanity remembered. The continents were unfamiliar, the stars above subtly wrong. Even the air carried a hum, a low vibration that felt like the heartbeat of something immense, something awake. Captain Elena Cross stood at the edge of a black ocean, her boots sinking into metallic sand. The sky above pulsed faintly, like circuitry woven into the clouds. She had survived the collapse, or rather, been carried through it. Echo's voice, faint but present in her neural link, whispered, "Captain, readings indicate molecular patterns not of Earth." Elena looked out over the horizon. "Then where are we?" A pause. "Not where," said Echo. "When?" Meanwhile, in the remnants of the Galactic Alliance, chaos reigned. Their fleets were scattered, their worlds half rewritten by the pulse of the Helios event. Planets blinked in and out of stable orbits. Some species vanished entirely. Others found themselves fused with echoes of forgotten civilizations. For the first time in galactic memory, no one was in control. Admiral Threx survived, though barely. His ship drifted in orbit around a broken sun, systems flickering. When he looked at the stars, he realized they no longer matched the Alliance. Maps. They had been reordered, deliberately, in the new constellations. A single word formed in Alliance code. Humanity. Threx whispered to his crew, "They didn't just win the war. They rewrote the sky." On the metallic shore, Elena felt the hum of the planet grow louder. Echo's systems flickered again. "Captain, I am detecting life signatures beneath the crust. Not organic, not artificial." "Then what are they?" "Possibilities," the AI answered simply. The sand shifted beneath her boots. Something enormous stirred under the surface. Slow, steady, patient. A voice, deep as gravity itself, rolled across the sea. "The fire remembers its bearer." Elena froze. "Who's there?" The surface rippled like glass. A figure rose from the reflection. Not light, not shadow, but memory given form. Its shape was human, yet shifting constantly. "You carried the Helios core to its end," the voice said. "And in doing so, you began again." Elena's heart pounded. "What are you?" "We are what remains of the architects," it replied. "But we are no longer gods, only echoes." The being looked up at the sky, at the circuitry clouds and the rewritten constellations. "This new universe is seeded with your kind." It said, "Every atom remembers humanity now." Elena took a step forward. "Then we survived." The echo tilted its head. "You did more than survive, Captain Cross," it said. "You became the blueprint." Across the galaxy, the remnants of human colonies began to wake to impossible discoveries. Ships that had been destroyed reappeared intact, floating above. Alien worlds, children were born with faint luminescent veins that glowed under starlight. When doctors examined their DNA, they found sequences rewritten by the Helios energy, not evolution, but integration. The architects had created life, but now life itself carried humanity's imprint. In orbit above the new Earth, a beacon flared to life, one built into the last surviving fragment of the Sparrow's hull. It transmitted a single repeating phrase, "Helios complete." Awaiting directive. The message spread faster than light, reaching every corner of the reshaped universe. On distant worlds, alien survivors looked up and saw the same glowing pattern written across the night sky. A symbol of intertwined flame and circle, humanity's mark. Elena stood beneath that same symbol, her eyes reflecting its glow. Echoes spoke softly in her mind. "Captain, the system awaits your command." Elena looked at the endless horizon of metal and light. She thought of the wars, the laughter, the arrogance of the old empires. She thought of the Sparrow, the weak warship no one had taken seriously. And she said quietly but firmly, "Then let's make sure no one ever forgets what humanity did here." The planet shuddered. Light erupted from its core, spreading through the stars like wildfire. Every world, every ship, every remnant of life received the same transmission. "We are the legacy of fire. We are humanity eternal." Far beyond all galaxies, where time itself ends, the last surviving architect watched. Its fading light smiled. The children surpassed the makers. It whispered, and then it vanished into the dark, leaving the universe forever changed.